Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining Jeff, Joy, and Tracy for our deep dive segment tonight. And tonight we're going to talk about why do seemingly healthy people sometimes get hit with a shocking diagnosis that is a health crisis and a real game-changing shocker. And it just breaks my heart. And I don't know. The more I talk to people about health, and I kind of become maybe a little bit of a go-to for some of my friends, and they call me with their cousin's brother's sister's friend. And oh my goodness, the stories I hear and the people that were living their best lives and things just fall apart. But what we're talking about is, figuring out what we want to be when we get older, and that's younger. And that's the good news of what we're going to share with you tonight in our deep dive segment. So we're talking about from healthy to health crisis and why. And I found this yesterday on my Apple news feed about this guy here, and he was a grandpa, just had this new little baby born and celebrating this baby, and then he receives a crushing diagnosis that his fast-growing cells had returned. And nothing prepares you for that news, especially when you're his age. You just don't have enough of those fighter repair cells to turn that around. And that can be a helpless feeling. And it might feel like, that time clock is ticking really loud in your ear. But we're here with some really good news, some bright news about light and technology. And we're going to go into this technology and geek out just a little bit. But I want to help you understand, why did this guy just go from living his life to that? But we are not medical professionals. And we are not diagnosing or treating. We're simply going to be sharing information tonight that we hope is helpful to you. And we always want you to work with your medical professionals. And the product we're talking about tonight is in the FDA's wellness category. But why do some people suddenly have a life-changing health crisis? These things don't start overnight. When that guy was diagnosed with those, the cancer, and this was a recurrence for him, but his first bout with it wasn't an occurrence overnight. It's these things, they take time, and it's a breakdown of and many different factors into that. It can be toxicity. We're going to talk a lot about that. Epigenetics can be food, environment, age. When you're 30, 35, you lost half of those stem cells. When you're 90, you have about 1 to 2% left. Epigenetics, those are the things we inherit from we talk about our genes, right? Oh, thanks, Grandma, for giving me wide feet or blue eyes or, diabetes, right? Those are those things. But we're going to talk about, doesn't have to always be that way. That GHK copper peptide has the power to reset genes. Diet plays a huge role, minimizing sugar and processed food and alcohol, highly recommended. We don't want you to have a horrible life here, of course. There's always the 80-20 rule. I always say stress. Stress is huge. We can't emphasize enough taking time every day to just relax, meditate, think, be grateful for, what you do have. Those things matter. EMF. Now, going back 20 years ago, nobody knew what this stuff was. This is electromagnetic frequency because of all this fantastic digital technology that we now can't live without, right? Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular, that 5G, whoo, wicked on our cells. We've never had so many brain cancers, brain tumors since these cellular devices have been around. There's some hope because there is a patch developed just to ward that off. But inflammation is really the killer of stem cells because it eats them, it damages them, and it really slows down the body's ability to heal and repair. But the three causes of disease, the big ones, toxins, that's what we're going to focus on a lot tonight, but trauma, trauma can create that, and a lack of nutrition. So we're going to real quickly talk about things that, sadly, I grew up in that era, the Saturday morning cartoons, right? And I was sold this bill of goods of, Lucky Charms and Apple Jacks, and I can sing you every song. And Pop-Tarts, we thought that was great. Grab it on the way to the school bus, right? Oh my goodness. Not setting me up for health in my life. And there's a lot of inflammatory foods, GMO corns, fried foods, a lot of whey protein, not good for us, refined sugars. And excess of red meat can create inflammation, and then sometimes dairy and certain um, systems, not always, but just pointing out the genetic weaknesses. A lot of these health conditions we are inheriting from our ancestors. We go back 14 generations, which is hard to believe that the epigenetics go back that far, but they really do. So brain, heart, kidneys, gut, those tend to be the big ones, but sometimes cognitive. We're seeing that more and more now with, kids on the spectrum and stuff, and we're seeing some of these things being handed down through generations. But we've got some telltale signs that things are going awry when we start having things like stubborn weight, exhaustion, insomnia, brain fog, irritability, things breaking out through the skin. That can be a rash, it can be acne, body odor, constipation. These are signs that the toxins are building up in our body. We're not processing them out as Mother Nature intended. And we do have a drainage funnel in our body. And the first line of defense is cells. And the product we're going to talk about tonight, LifeWave Phototherapy, patented product, is targeting cellular health. So, yay, that's a win. But the next level is our organs and our tissue. Then lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is critically important for filtration. Liver and bile ducts are part of that. And then the last level is the colon to get this stuff out of our body. And so we're going to talk about these things, but I wanted to show you some stages of liver disease because we all aspire to be this beautiful red, normal liver over here where it's 100% functioning. But here's the reality. There's a very high percentage of kiddos these days that are like age 8 to 12. They are finding they have fatty liver because they've been marketed to, the drive-through window is dinner and the Pop-Tarts and the cereal. And, that's terrible. Years ago, fatty liver was a huge rarity. But, it's liver fibrosis and then it's cirrhosis and then it's sadly funeral. And we have a lot of our celebrity entertainers and, they're just not living to the age that they should have because of that. But I want to talk about the cause. Why? Why would we get there? But they are finding it's long-term exposure to viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites. Those all attack the immune system. And then we end up with a collapse in the immune system, and the body just can't fight it off. But the pathogens that come into our body, parasites, I'm going to talk about that one in a minute. I've got sadly some firsthand experience with that, but thankfully, and that's why I decided I need to, share what I've learned. I feel I go on these journeys, not just for my own information and my own family. And what I learned, I feel the need to share this with people because there's some simple things you can do to address these things. But viruses, they get into the cells and they get overlooked by the immune system for a long period of time. And bacteria, that acute infection, maybe you've got, a tooth, maybe you had a root canal that gave you some problems. Sadly, we have a really lovely man who lost his young wife because of a failed root canal that went into breast cancer. We're here to tell you there's hope for these things. We don't just have to let these things happen to us. We can turn this around. So that's why I'm sharing this tonight, and I hope you don't get grossed out. So just a PG-13 warning here. I'm going to show you a couple pictures that might make you a little squeamish, but I'd rather educate you here than have, maybe the coroner or somebody else looking at these things and saying, oh, yep, another one of these cases, because I'm hearing this a lot from people who do this full time in the postmortem realm. But these pathogens, we don't want to let these things linger in our body if they're there. We can go after them, but signs that you might be dealing with parasites, brain fog, a weak memory, anxiety and depression, and sometimes that can go into rage. Dark circles under the eyes, headaches, fatigue, maybe too much toilet time, just ongoing infections, weight issues, maybe underweight, overweight, yo-yo, skin problems. So if you have any of these, just be aware, it's not a life sentence. And a lot of people are very embarrassed. And I've actually talked to two doctors. It's dealing with somebody near and dear in my family. And we were in the emergency room, said we suspected this condition, these parasites. And the doctor looked us straight in the eye with a straight face and said, that is a third world country problem. We do not have those in America. And I'm here to tell you we do. And the root cause of a lot of our health decline is these little buggers. And I found this online. It was from a naturopath saying that we've been misled, that sometimes wrapped in a prescription bottle and we get stamped with a diagnosis, but nobody really looks at the root cause. Why? Why do you have those conditions going? But here's the truth that no one's saying out loud, that parasites don't just cause diarrhea and bugging eyes in third world countries. They're here. They can be in your children, and they're likely in you. And I'm told by a doctor, naturopath I'm working with, that pretty much anyone with domestic pets, if you have a cat or a dog, we tend to have them. And if you have them, it tends to be things get shared and, maybe a brushing of your toothbrush and, things get splattered and it easily transmitted to the people in your family. So if you're going to treat one, you really should treat all. And it's very harmless and it's simple. But so this naturopath is saying, let's get real. You're not just tired. You're not just hormonal. Your kids don't just have eczema, ADHD, or sensory issues. All of those are attributable to these little buggers, as I call them. They tend to have parasites, and rather than treating the actual cause. Because it's not that the doctors are trying to hide this from us. Here's the sad reality. In their medical schools, they really don't get trained on these things. And if you are a lover of sushi, if you eat a lot of things out of the garden, and just the reality is we're going to have these things. So my naturopath has got our family now twice a year doing a parasite cleanse. But if you have a dog or a cat, or you do eat sushi and raw foods, you maybe want to do it every 3 months just to keep them at bay. So they're not hiding deep in tissues and, raking havoc on your body. But they really are the root cause of so many issues. Okay, so this is the squeamish thing, so sorry. But parasites aren't just in your gut. And I have a lot of people that, they look at the toilet every day and they think they're going to see something. A lot of these are very, very tiny. And we can't see them even to the naked eye, according to the naturopath, but they do get in our brain. And the memory loss and rage is often that. They get in your liver, that can slow down your detoxification. It can make you be more reactive to everything under the sun. In your joints, they can trigger inflammation and pain. In your skin, rashes and acne. Often those things are signs that these little critters are in there and they're giving off more waste than your body can process out. And for kiddos, those kids that are always sick, they're always having a running nose, they catch every virus. It's sometimes these things that keep them down. But the most scary thing, as I'm learning so much about the importance of proper nutrition absorption in the gut, is your digestive tract. It's blocking our ability. And that's why the brain, that is depending on nutrients to come from the gut, is maybe in anxiety or ADHD or insomnia because it's not getting what it needs. It keeps your body stuck in deficiency. But the weirdest part is that this is all medically documented, they say. It's all buried under symptom codes and it's renamed as different conditions. And there are pharmaceutical distractions, as they say. But this naturopath had this mom who had a child on the spectrum, and she said, we stopped chasing the symptoms. We finally detoxed, dewormed, and we got our boy back. So they got him out of a lot of those symptoms by doing these detoxes. So I really do encourage you to dig deep. And if any of you are dealing with this and you want some help, I have a really excellent holistic naturopath that I work with remotely. And he creates his own natural ivermectin and some other tinctures and things. And I'm feeling wonderful. And so is my family. We've all done this and I'm learning more and more all the time. But if your gut is telling you something's not right, listen. You've ever heard of trust your gut? Really, in this case, you should. But I'm going to continue on now. No more scary images, I promise. But the toxins that we didn't have 60 years ago, a lot of those things are attributing to our spiraling down of health. So glyphosate, Roundup, downregulates 291 enzymes in our body. So if you're a gardener, look out. Pesticides, the body just stores them. A poor diet from that drive-through or things in a box or a bag, that was me. I got re-educated and I really try and eat my whole foods and try and stay organic. Heavy metals, if you've got amalgam fillings or aluminum, or you drink things out of cans, eat food out of cans, we tend to build those up, but we can get them out. That's the good news. I'm going to give you a happy ending to this yucky story, okay? Just bear with me. But the toxins, they come in cosmetics, air pollution, carpet, furniture, laundry, dryer sheets. I did not realize you put a dryer sheet in heat. It's heating up. And then that stuff gets on your clothes and it absorbs through your skin. And now you have a new problem. But here is some reality of all of those pathogen, the toxins, the parasites, all of these things attribute to one central crisis in the body, and that's low mitochondrial function. I always knew that word. I didn't really know what it meant until this company. I got educated from a bunch of very smart doctors, but that is a powerhouse of every cell in your body. So if you have low mitochondrial function of your cell, you're setting yourself up. And that is why that supposedly healthy person, maybe they were a runner, maybe you always saw them eating salads, they are not immune from these scary diagnoses. So we really want to protect our body. We want to detox. We want to get these toxins out of the body. And for another conversation, we have a gut regeneration system that helps get those toxins that are stored in fat cells out of our body too, because that is impacting the liver, the kidney, the brain. And that's where the damage really starts. But I want to show you what healthy mitochondria looks like on the left. This is a young person. This is somebody with energy and good health. This is an unhealthy mitochondria. And we can change that. We can take that unhealthy and go back into that good balanced zone. And on the left side, these are all the things that result in good mitochondria. So activity, walking, even if you can't get out, but if you can maybe lift a little bit of weights or do a little resistance training, get on an exercise bike, go around the block. That's really important for that mitochondria. Just be in a good environment. Healthy foods give healthy mitochondria and it produces ATP energy. That energy output dictates how good we feel or how bad we feel if we're on the right side of this chart here. The toxins, the unhealthy food, the stress, that is the producer of free radicals. That's the bad, the Pac-Men in the body that are in there eating up the good stuff. We don't want that side. We want to get back over to the good side. So bear with me. Going to give you some good news. It's as simple as wearing what looks like a little Band-Aid. But the key is the mitochondria health. Because when you've got low mitochondria, that's setting yourself up for really bad things like autoimmune conditions and cancers and all of these things happen slowly, gradually. We don't know they're happening. We don't feel them happening until we get that horrible diagnosis, like the nice little grandpa I showed you here in the intro. That poor man has a new grandson and he just got bad news. Doesn't have to keep it bad news. David Schmidt, the owner inventor of LifeWave, created this first two-patch system for the US Navy SEALs 20 years ago. It is flushing the lymphatic system and it is burning fat for fuel of the mitochondria. So when Michael Phelps won all those medals in Beijing, he was wearing energy enhancer on his stomach, and it allowed him to beat an awful lot of expert swimmers. And there was controversy because of his performance. This patch was a large reason. I'm sure he did a lot of other amazing things, but here you see him here. David Beckham, a lot of celebrity athletes have used this patch and others for 20 years now, but you and I, we haven't known about it, of course, because in our country, this really can't be advertised and there's no pharmaceutical rep out there educating doctors, which is why we're here on Monday and Tuesday nights. We feel so passionate. People need to know about this. But ATP, that is that vital energy, boosting the mitochondria, clearing lymphatic system. If you clear that lymphatic system, your odds of getting the lymphomas and the blood cancers go down dramatically. I learned that from my massage therapist. That's really, it's not just to feel good. It's medicinal, right? They're pushing out junk and they're opening up pathways to get stuff out. I happen to learn that we burn 300 to 600 calories a day. So I love this. And when I need to drop a few pounds before vacation or I want to wear that special dress, I'm wearing this one day in and day out. I love this patch. The energy it gives me, outstanding. But X39, that is the holy grail of the product line. And if you could only afford one patch, this is the one. You would really want to wear this 1 month for every decade you are old to bring back enough of your own dormant repair cells. I think you know what cells I'm talking about. I have to talk a little bit in code here. It really gives a second lease on life. And it's going in and it's repairing damage and it's preventative. It does so many great things. But the reality is, when we have those things in our body, we get a lot of red flags that we might overlook. And these two guys here on the left, they both have vitiligo, an autoimmune skin condition where those toxins, they can't get out the conventional pathways, so they start coming out the skin. But look at them, after 3 months, this guy here, he looks way better. And then 1 year on the bottom, whoa, way better. And this guy here had fast growing cells of the skin. He had it for 15 years. He'd had 20 surgeries. And look at after 2 months, our friend Cami gave him some patches. Look at him. Do you think he wants his money back? I don't think so. And this lady here, she had fast growing cells and had radiation and painful. Can you imagine on your sinuses? Her friend gave her some of these patches and look at her in 3 weeks. What a difference. But the patch that we love for everyone to start with X39 is called Eon. It's termed the happy patch because it's working on your autonomic nervous system, most responsible for taking down inflammation, pulling it out through the liver. But it's very calming. It puts your body in rest and digest mode instead of living in that high speed, pressure cooker. We don't want high speed pressure cooker. We want calm. I'm showing you how stress is so damaging. But this is doing so much good in your body and it's quieting the mind. It's really good for jet lag too. And several of us have used this and you just don't miss a beat when you travel. And this is showing you in 5 minutes, those two images on the top, that was pre-Eon being put on inflamed areas of the body, the back, and then the gut in the front. And after 5 minutes, look at the difference. That heat, inflammation sensation gets pulled out. You may not feel it as quickly as the heat mapping changes, but keep doing it consistently. I like to tell people a minimum of 60 days when you first start these. If you're super young and you're really fit and healthy, maybe a month, but at least a month. Please let your body get that inflammation under control so it's not out there eating your dormant stem cells. But I told you we're going to talk about why. Why do these things happen? These horrible diagnoses like, that fast growing cells in grandpa. It's low glutathione. Probably never heard of this. I know of a few people who have, and maybe they go get IV drips to get glutathione. And most cancer patients, when they get the chemotherapy cocktail, the biggest push that they do at the end is glutathione because it is intended to open the pathways that let these toxins out. So when you have low glutathione, it means your body isn't excreting the toxins like it should. And they're all just hanging out in your body and wreaking havoc. But look at all these conditions. Shocking. You hear a lot about the eyesight here. Toxins tend to collect on nerves and in joints. So all your itises, like that plantar fasciitis we heard in our last testimonial, it went away for her in under a minute. The pain was relieved, I should say. It didn't necessarily go away, but she got pain relief. Those things in itis tie in with arthritis. That's all a toxic-based condition. All of these boxes stem from toxins. So if we use a patch and we get those pathways open, we get the toxins out of our body and things can correct, repair, regenerate. Again, I'm not making any medical claims here. I'm just telling you how the body works. You all have glutathione in your liver. Just like those repair cells, you lose it with age. You can follow Mother Nature's downward decline, spiral down, or you can turn it around with the power of light working in your own body. We have another amazing tool called Cellular, and it is a wellness powerhouse. This is the best way to start your day every day. 2 scoops in water, drink it down. It tastes delicious, but it's so great for the cells in your body. Your cardiovascular system has got some incredible results that they found in the clinical trials. The nitric oxide declines with age, but this boosts it by about 70%, 75%. But there is a sea buckthorn fruit. You've probably never heard of it. It's kind of holy grail to Tibetan monks. They know all about this. They're very, very healthy. But it helps support 3 different types of stem cells in your own body. And if you use that Cellergize with the patch, it's just making your body the perfect host with the perfect tools to reshape the body and brain and everything else. It just makes everything work better. And what is coming out just this week? Some of the higher level people in our company are purchasing these right now. I can't wait to get my hands on this. World's first ever light infused water machine. It takes a photon, suspends it in water, and binds it with hydrogen. So you're actually drinking the water. So the patches right now are stimulating the skin with light, right? This is taking this to another level. Drinking the light gives even more rapid repair. And wait till you hear clinical trials on that. Oh my goodness. Right now, there's a little, they're dealing with FDA, what they can and can't say. And it's just so sad that they can't tell us everything it does. Because if you knew of what it did, you'd buy it. But finding balance, homeostasis of the body, that is what this company is all about. And it's really trying to work, so that the impact of toxins, environment, epigenetics, it's just helping your body to reset to a younger, healthier state. The timeline for repair is always unique to each individual, but the longer you patch, the better. But 1 month for every decade you are old with that X39 is always the golden rule to get enough of those dormant repair cells back. But it comes down to figuring out what you want to be when you're older. And wouldn't we all agree younger is better? So I would love to open it up to questions. And I really thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording, and we'll be back again on Monday and Tuesday night with a different deep dive on Tuesday as well. So thanks for joining us.